The internet is full of mysteries, but lots remain hidden in the shadows. Today, we're diving into 4 more mysteries as we continue to investigate the internet's dark side. Imagine you were going about your daily life. You go to your job, you walk your dog, but during this, without your knowledge, someone is watching. Watching Her Laugh was a TikTok account that started to gain some traction after its disturbing content started to be pushed to the For You page. The videos were simple. It was a woman being filmed from afar, but the person behind the camera seemed as though they were hiding, and the woman seemed completely unaware. The person filming would speak about the woman in English, and they seemed to be American. People quickly figured out that the videos were filmed in Budapest, and despite people's efforts to make the local police aware of the possible stalker situation that was going on, this continued to fly under the radar of law enforcement, with no one entirely sure if this was real or staged. TikTok can be home to some disturbing stuff, and this could very well fall under that category if it is proven to be real. Sadly, we can't view and dissect all of the videos because the account has now been suspended, but this is the only remaining footage that I can find. The video shows a man filming the woman walking her dog. He peeks the camera over a wall while she is walking in his general direction, tucking behind the wall as she passes in order to not be spotted. The dog seems suspicious that the pair are being watched, stopping and looking back on multiple occasions. But the woman keeps walking, and the stalker goes undetected. In another video, he seems to be tailing the same woman on the street. He follows her at a distance, and again, she's seemingly completely unaware of his presence. Although we can't view the videos in full, we can see the titles of 2 of them, as they still show up on Google. The one where she is walking her dog is titled My Cutie Pie, with the second having the disturbing title of Found Out Where She Lives. Considering everything, this seems like a stalker situation, but it all boils down to the question of whether this is some sort of art project / ARG, or if it is really sinister. This wouldn't be the first time that something like this has shown up in TikTok. In a recent video, fellow creator Lazy Masquerade covered an account on the platform where a man would upload himself filming unsuspecting women through their windows, sometimes when they were asleep, and always unaware of what he was doing. Lazy chose not to reveal the name of the account holder because he believed that it was simply a mentally unwell person, and I'm inclined to agree on that one, but in the case of watching her sleep, I think it could be something more sinister. And it turns out my suspicions were correct. The woman who was the victim of the man recording the videos was made aware of the situation, and she, of course, recognized herself and came to the dark realization that she had been being watched. This is a video that she posted to TikTok.
I've been peeping at her. I found out where she lives.
I'm the girl who is following in those videos. I was not aware, but I'm okay. I just went through all the comments and saw people freaking out. I didn't know the video of me was like such a big deal, but I'm okay. I was also texting some of you that I'm okay, nothing has happened. I even spoke with him. He came up to me. That was before I knew he was recording me, but he seemed a bit off, but not like in a dangerous way. He asked me out, I declined, and I haven't spoken or seen him since, so yeah. But I'm okay.
But let this be a reminder that you never know who is watching you. And even when you feel safe, there may be someone lurking not far away. It's no shock that there are lots of child predators on the internet nowadays, but they have existed since the very beginning. Let's go back to 2003, a year before I was born, and a much simpler time for the internet. Around this time, chat rooms were incredibly popular, and people would communicate with each other not only through text chat, but through their webcams. One boy who discovered this way of making friends was Justin Berry, when he was only 13 years old. Although he would initially start speaking to people the same age as him, he began to interact with adults more and more. And quickly, the adults he was talking to started to get creepier and creepier. They would start to offer him money and gifts to perform inappropriate acts on camera, and although he was still under his mother's roof at the time, he obliged. His mother didn't question it either, as he claimed that anything he earned was simply off an online side hustle. With this, she saw no reason to question it, and these actions were allowed to continue unchecked. About a year after all of this began, Justin would have his first in-person meeting with someone who claimed to be a fan. In other words, a predator. Justin was taken advantage of by the man he met, and this caused him to go deeper into the rabbit hole of illegal actions. Quickly becoming sick of the webcam chat rooms, he decided to make his own site. To his surprise, or maybe he expected it, the site took off, with disturbing individuals from all over the world flocking in to view content that was clearly against the law. But things would go downhill for Justin and the illegal online sanctuary he had built for himself when his classmates would discover everything. This had been going on for years at this point, and the bullying he suffered was reportedly relentless. It got so bad that he had no choice but to flee, and he went to live with his father, Neri, in Mexico. This story doesn't end here though, because his actions certainly didn't. Rather than take this as a warning and attempt to make up for what he had been doing, Justin instead decided to be honest with his dad. He told him about the website, and rather than have a reaction that you could expect from any normal parent, Knut decided to help contribute to the site. And he did just that by seeking out ladies of the night for Justin to engage in actions with. But things didn't stop there either, as the teenager would soon take it one step further than he had ever done before. He allegedly started to recruit other minors into his dark scheme. Some people have claimed that he forced them to engage in these actions, however that is unconfirmed. It is also alleged that he began using blackmail tactics to force other illegal workers out of the business, leaving his site as the only place people could go to get their disturbing fix. Around this point, he claims to have been making thousands of dollars every month. But as he continued to grow up, he realised that this was not what he wanted. After some incidents involving another man who took advantage of him, he made the decision to leave the dark side. He began to speak to an American journalist who was working on an investigative piece about this subject, and the writer convinced Justin to share details, exposing the whole plot of how things like this can go on without attracting the wrong kind of attention. The article was eventually published and was the domino effect of regulations being created concerning internet crime. It also helped to raise awareness of the predators that were lurking on the internet. Years continued to fly by, and Justin was a media sensation at such a young age. He was interviewed by influential TV stars such as Dr. Phil, and was even given immunity by the FBI if he would cooperate with them, which he did. This led to him testifying in front of the Senate, playing a huge part in ending the empire that he had been so key in building. So surely Justin must be living a comfortable life now, right? Not exactly. After 2012, he mostly left the public eye, but his status was still confirmed as being alive. In 2018 though, he went to Mexico, to an area apparently known for a range of illegal activities, and was never seen again. Justin has been MIA for 6 years. There is little to no mention of his disappearance on the internet, with just a brief note at the end of his Wikipedia page and a couple of Reddit posts going over the mystery. 1 month after he went missing, one of his friends had allegedly posted to a Facebook group saying that he had been killed and that the police had nothing to go on. It's unknown if this is true or not, but with all things considered, and the fact that snitching is signing your own death notice in the criminal underworld, we can probably assume that Justin Berry is in fact deceased. Officially though, the mystery does remain unsolved, and whether he's alive or not is a question that will probably never be answered. But what do you think? Is Justin still alive somewhere out there? Or did he meet his end at the hands of an enemy on that fateful day in 2018? I'm sure a lot of us grew up with unrestricted internet access. I know I did. And for those who may have used YouTube in the early days, you may remember that it used to have a private messaging system. This was removed for what I can imagine are obvious reasons, but one Redditor recalls something that happened when she was between the ages of 10 and 14. She posted vlogs to YouTube for about 4 years and had one subscriber who would go above and beyond to speak to her. Her post says, "During that time, there was a subscriber who would always comment on my videos and send me private messages suggesting what kind of videos I should post. And considering her age, and the fact the man seemed to be an adult, this is incredibly disturbing to think about." This is a subscriber. The Cool Girl channel. His description reads, "Hello femme fatales, welcome to the Cool Girl channel. I usually run videos of friends. If you have current videos, then they will be on my channel. Sometimes I go outside of the criteria. Still, it's cool for all the cool females, you dig? So enjoy, lovely ladies and lovely little ladies. This is your channel. Attention, if I comment on a video, feel blessed. You have caught the eye of one of the best. Not a title taken lightly. And to the younger girls, don't get too much of an ego on the tube. I have young girls in the family that will put you to shame." Clearly a bit odd, but what are his reasons for doing this? Good question, because I've scanned through his videos and I can't seem to find any answer. I think there used to be a lot more videos on his channel of women, but they have since been removed, as all that remains is content featuring him. This makes sense as a few years ago, YouTube removed a lot of the old webcam-esque videos featuring young children. So, by the sounds of it, those were what populated his channel at one point, and it makes sense that they are now nowhere to be seen. In one video that does remain though, a Q&A, he says that he features a lot of younger girls because they upload the most, and the videos pop up on his feed. He says that older girls have jobs to go to, like he does, and that they don't have the time to post videos that he could then feature. While there's not anything incriminating on the channel, it's certainly disturbing, especially considering that OP can vouch that he has actively privately messaged young girls in the past. And one of the creepiest aspects of this is the amount of time that it has been going on. His channel was posting videos for about a decade before abruptly stopping in 2020. But that doesn't mean he's gone away. If we take a look at his playlists, we can see that he has 4 public ones. But the most disturbing part? The line under the title that says they've been updated as recently as today. He is still building a collection of girls on his YouTube channel, and he continues to give no explanation as to why this creepy behaviour is going on. A scroll through the playlist will show that he has favorited videos of girls who look very young. A lot of them are very obscure as well, with some having as little as 20 views at the time of writing. Funnily enough, even though he says he likes to feature older girls as much as younger ones on the channel, his playlists seem to be in the order of how much he likes each video. And the most favourite playlist is filled almost exclusively with girls who appear to be young teenagers. And he is subscribed to so many as well. If we scroll through his public subscriptions, there is page after page of subscriptions. Again, some of the girls have almost no subscribers, which means that he is actively searching them out or has tailored his algorithm to recommend him young girls. I'm not sure which option there is more disturbing. Some people have written this off as not being a proper mystery because it's just a creep, but to OP, this is. She adds, "It's something that had been bothering me for a long time, and did feel mysterious to me since I encountered it when I wasn't sure what I was seeing." And she's right, because what may not be a mystery to one person can be the darkest rabbit hole to another. So, do you think that this is just a general creepy guy? Or is there maybe something more disturbing going on under the surface? What if I told you that a website seems normal, but hides something dark beneath the surface? There is no shortage of strange websites on the internet, and I've even covered some of them before, such as 4.com. One that caught the attention of some Reddit users last month is cashproof.org, a site that may be darker than it seems, especially if you know the story behind the man who created it. So, let me take you back and tell you the story of Eugene Kasparov. Eugene grew up in a time when the internet was simply getting started. He quickly became knowledgeable of it though, and how it worked, and was particularly displeased with how companies were starting to gain control over domain registration. He believed that this should be decentralized, so he came up with a plan to counter the people who were trying to steal the power. He created an alternative service, and quickly gained attention when he redirected traffic from domains registered through a company called Network Solutions to his own servers. He had hijacked them, but little did he know the consequences that this would have. Though he managed to get people talking, there was suddenly a discussion over how right it was for the government and private entities to have full control over internet domains. But although he saw this as a simple case of repossession, the company he had taken customers from saw it as disruption. Network Solutions would take legal action against Eugene, claiming that his actions were illegal. This led to him being investigated by the FBI, and they discovered that this was actually an in-depth plan that he had named Operation DNS Storm. This was enough for them, and they quickly put out a warrant for his arrest. But there was one problem. He had already fled. He claims he had no knowledge that there was any sort of problem, and he was already enjoying his life in Canada at this point. But soon enough, the police caught up to him. Eugene was arrested in Canada, extradited to New York, and by 1998, he had pled guilty to the charges brought against him. Now, this story is all well and good, but you're probably wondering what relevance this has to his old website. Well, before I explain, let me give you an overview of the site. Since 1995, Eugene has documented his family life, and even claims that the birth of his son was the first webcast of a birth to ever exist on the internet. We can view photo albums that date all the way from 1998 to 2021, showing just how extensive this documentation is. This is a look into the life of a hacker, but there may be a darker side. Eugene has a son, and although the life he is portraying on the internet seems perfect, his son claims otherwise. In his words, "My father came home one day to find that the camera was broken, so in typical drunken anger, he beat all 4 of us brothers because we would not admit which of us had done it. He would force us to pose for these photos so he could present an image of a perfect life online to his mother, while struggling for his own sexuality and a string of drug-fueled benders throughout my childhood, committing record-setting cyber fraud and generally lying at every opportunity." Now, this is unconfirmed, and I'm not looking to spread any allegations, but this mystery has been picking up some steam, so I wanted to take a look so we can hopefully come to some sort of conclusion. One thing that was mentioned in a post to the Internet Mysteries subreddit was a supposed photo that showed clear signs of physical abuse. This is the photo, and although I won't be showing the son's face for privacy reasons, he has this mark that seems like a black eye. Fair enough, that seems pretty cut and dry, especially with the allegations. But if we look at a photo taken years earlier, when he was still a child, we can see that he has the exact same mark. It appears to be nothing but a birthmark, as in several pictures on the site, we can see it as a consistent factor. As for the other allegations that OP made, specifically those of sexual abuse, they are also unconfirmed. User DerpNIWA, name on screen right now because I definitely butchered that, did a deep dive into the photographs on the site, and says that there is absolutely no proof of abuse in any of the images. I've also taken a look and agree with his sentiment. There are pictures of the family hanging out at parties and such, but nothing to suggest any wrongdoing. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the son is lying. If something did happen to him when he was younger, his feelings are very valid, and this site could have very well been Eugene's way to cover up what was going on behind closed doors. I'm just pointing out for those interested that this site alone doesn't contain anything directly incriminating. So that's my conclusion for now, but let me know yours in the comments section below. How does this photo make you feel? Probably a bit uncomfortable, right? This was a picture that accompanied the Teddy creepypasta, and for years people have been trying to figure out exactly what this is and where it came from. So today, we're going to dive into the search and find out what we know about the famous Teddy. And you'll want to watch until the end because there have been some crazy discoveries that have been made recently. before we get into the topic, I just wanted to thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you enjoy, a like and subscribe would mean the world, but without further ado, let's get into the topic. So let's go back to where this all began, on one of the many popular websites for creepypastas to be posted to. 700 terrifying words would be uploaded on January 14th, 2011, and the story would follow a young child who was scared of a teddy bear that his sister had. The photo that accompanied the creepypasta was this, and right enough, it is a pretty terrifying bear. The way it stares at you as if you have no choice but to look back. You really can't peel your eyes away. The angle that it's taken from also adds to the fear factor because it makes you feel like you are that child, discovering an item for the first time where you don't know where it came from. The eerie colour of the entire photo also adds to the unsettling nature. This photo would stick in the minds of internet sleuths for years, not only because of the disturbing nature of it, but also because the origin of it was completely unknown. Where this picture originated from was anyone's guess. People did forget though, as everyone went on with their lives. The creepy internet bear was the last thing on people's minds considering everything that was going on in the world. Until 2017, when a user called Grimes would make a post to the platform Amino simply titled, "Remember Teddy?" In the post, they explained that they were shopping in an antique shop when one of the items sparked a memory. A memory of the Teddy creepypasta, because looking at them from the shelf in that antique shop was none other than the bear. They attached these 3 images to the post because not only had they found the bear, but they now had it in their possession. They had actually solved the mystery of what this thing was. But anyone hoping to get any more information from OP would sadly be left disappointed because Grimes wouldn't respond to any of the comments. This post was made in 2017 and again, as time went on, people forgot about the bear. At least for a while, until 2022, when someone would make a post to the Internet Mysteries subreddit, reigniting the search for the elusive Teddy. And it worked because sleuths from all over the world were determined to finally crack the case. Last year, user Bored Brews discovered one of the earliest, if not the earliest, instances of Teddy on the internet. Strangely enough, it was found on an adult website. The post was simply called Halloween 4, and it was posted to the site a whole 2 months before it would accompany the creepypasta. Attempts to contact the user who posted it to the site have been unsuccessful, but it's good to at least know that it definitely did originate before the creepypasta. The author certainly didn't capture it themselves. And so this gave people searching for the origin something more to go off. In 2021, the bear would pop up on the internet yet again, this time on Facebook. This showed another angle of Teddy that had never been seen before. This was the picture that was posted, and as you can see, it is a close-up angle of Teddy. And the search would reach a bit of a dead end here until 2024. December came around and people were starting to think that the mystery was essentially unsolvable. Attempts to reach Grimes had been fruitless so far, but things would take a sudden, unexpected turn. Creator Sirazin has been doing amazing work on this mystery and his community have really been spearheading the search. He uploaded a video going over the mystery of the lost bear, and as it turns out, Grimes was actually a subscriber. They ended up joining the Discord server that Sirazin had, and not only did they join the server, but they sent additional images of the bear, which they still had. This was huge because not only did we now have more clear images of the bear, but we also had the name of its apparent creator, Sandra Wright Justice. Sandra is described as an interior decorator, artist, and doll maker. Since she began her work, she has modelled dolls for special exhibits, even running her own workshops. And importantly, she has also crafted many special lines of dolls, including Teddy. The discovery of Sandra also gave us a year to work off of, 1984. So not only does the bear actually predate the creepypasta, but it does by over 15 years. Grimes could also give some additional information on the actual product. For a while, it was thought that the creepy face was made from rubber, but they revealed that it was actually porcelain. And not long after that, another bear was found, this time a white one, on the website WorthPoint. WorthPoint is a website that stores and collects data from all completed sales on auction sites like eBay. This gives people a similar value to go off of if it's an item that has been sold before. This site would not only prove to be incredibly incredibly useful, but it would actually be a turning point in the search. Because not only did we now have Grimes providing useful information, but we also had previous listings of bears that Sandra had made, finally giving us a full description of the item. A rare porcelain sculpted musical bear plush. Soon after, a fourth, much creepier bear in my opinion would be found, this time a clown one. This makes you wonder just how many of these are really out there on the obscurest corners of the internet just waiting to be found. When the bears were first created, digital cameras weren't mainstream and certainly weren't affordable to everyone, so we may not fully know just how many of Sandra's bears are sitting on someone's shelf collecting dust. After all, the writing on Grimesy's bear says it was made in 1984, but the clown bear was allegedly sculpted in 1988. This gives us 4 years of time where Sandra must have been creating the bears, so it's hard to believe that she only made 4 in that time. New discoveries are still being made though, and no doubt much more will come to light. The community searching for every bit of information about Teddy are honestly amazing, and they've done incredible work diving down this rabbit hole. It's so fascinating to see how so many internet sleuths can come together in one place to finally crack a case. Places like Reddit and even here on YouTube have become a home for ordinary people like me and you to discuss these mysteries. Anyone can take part in a mystery, you might even be the one that solves a mystery. There's a real sense of community about it all. And without the power of the internet, we may have never found out the truth. If Grimes hadn't discovered the ongoing search, then the bear could have rotted on their shelf. It could have been staring back at them while it was forgotten by everyone. Back before the internet, creepy puzzles like Teddy would just fly under the radar. But now, thanks to places like Reddit, we have turned searches for lost media like this into interesting puzzles. I just wanted to highlight just how special it is for people to come together like this, because there are so many dull mysteries out there, but when something like Teddy or Jeff the Killer comes along, it really makes you feel at home. And it's great to see how many people come together and just snowball the search into places you never thought it would go. And yes, Teddy, Jeff the Killer, all this lost media stuff may not be your thing, but to me, it's incredibly interesting, and I hope that if you've gotten this far in the video, you think that too. And it's also interesting how one post from years ago can prove to be the key to solving a mystery. I bet when Grimes made that post to Amino back in 2017, or when that person posted to the adult site, they would have never thought that their post could be the final piece in a difficult puzzle. It makes you wonder just how many posts there are like this on the internet that could be the key to solving another long search. There is a notorious creep on one side of the internet who doesn't seem to go away no matter how hard you try. Today, we'll be diving into the rabbit hole of Edgar Neri. Before we get into the topic, I just wanted to thank you so much for clicking on the video. If you enjoy, a like and subscribe would mean the world, but without further ado, let's get into the video.
Hello. Hello. My name is Marco Diaz. Well, I think I was really upset. Yeah, it's true. It was him. Sora Kingdom Hearts. He got in the Smash. Well, really happy to see you.
This is Edgar Neri, also known as Marco Diaz, and he is showing extremely concerning behaviour towards both cosplayers and minors. He has been a constant harasser in the community for a while at this point, and he has certainly become very well known to the members. So what community is he exactly targeting? The side of platforms like Tumblr that focus on cosplay and Lolita fashion. As you can probably imagine, it's not exactly uncommon for people in these communities to be targeted by creepy men. It's usually easy enough to deal with, just a simple block, report and move on with your life. But Edgar is different. Over multiple social media platforms, he has many different accounts. The number is possibly as high as 50. When one of his accounts gets banned, like he has experienced on Instagram a lot of the time, then another will pop right up, and this is a cycle that keeps repeating itself. No matter how hard people try to get rid of him, he always finds a way to sneak his way back in. Let's take his current Instagram account for example. The username is King Edgar Neri Potion Hero, and everything in his profile makes next to no sense. The bio reads, "I'm real champion King Edgar Neri Potion Heroes Generation Hyrule profile, the future fans actor live ex Houston Power in Hyrule, followed by a bunch of emojis. He is only followed by 75 people but follows over 2,300. But it's his posts that give us our first glimpse into how dark he really is. One of his pinned posts is text over a red background. Although it doesn't really make much sense when you read it as a whole, if we pick out certain words, it's extremely concerning that they were included. I'm talking words like shoe play and with shoes. And the inclusion of these words just make the rest of his posts that bit more disturbing. In the two posts that have also been pinned, he is holding his hand over a shoe. In one of them, it seems to be a cartoon character with his hand badly photoshopped over the image, but in the other, it looks as though he is holding the foot of a real person. And as we scroll down his profile, the posts continue. He is clearly stealing the photos of cosplayers and fashion enthusiasts, posting them to his profile without any captions, almost using his page like a personal storage. And after we get past the random photos of cosplayers, we start to see more pictures of people's shoes. Very close-up images that don't seem to be stolen, but rather, very possibly taken by Edgar without consent of the person in question. And then we see the return of the photoshopped holding feet pictures. Edgar has been called out in the past for stealing people's photos to make these creepy edits, but that didn't do much to stop him, and sadly, it still continues to this day. And the posts that were called out still remain on his profile for everyone to see. And again, we can see that this has gone beyond simple internet edits because it's clear that he is acting this way in real life. In one photo posted in December of last year, he is again holding someone's shoe. In another posted minutes before, he videos himself doing the exact same thing. Now, there is a reason that I haven't showed the videos unblurred, and that's because there is a disturbing piece of information about them. The person whose foot he is grabbing and holding in the video, seemingly for the purposes of appeasing his fetish, appears to be his underaged sister. So he has now proven that he is not only a danger to minors online, but also in person. With a pinned set of stories that seem to highlight the fact he doesn't really care about people being predators, it really makes you wonder if that is something that Edgar would describe himself as. He has no problem calling himself a so it's really not out of the realm of possibility. Like I said, he has been called out on this before, with official reports even being made to the police about his internet presence. People were initially made aware that he was simply stealing photos, but minors came out to report that he had actually stole their photos for the edits. By the point people were made aware of him, they had genuine reason to believe that he was a predator. But the police responded saying that they couldn't do anything, stating that there is no expectation of privacy when you're out in public. A very concerning response considering the possible severity of the situation. The rest of his posts are basically the same thing, but his stories are interesting to say the least. On one of his highlights, he has multiple posts going off at people who have princesses from the Super Mario universe as their persona. For what reason, it's unknown, as we can't really get much from his rants. All he really says is that they can't defeat him, leaving us to wonder what could have sparked such a heavy reaction. But the most concerning stories of all are those put under a highlight called /Z. The first slide is the same rant that we went over in the beginning, followed by some of the photos that he included on his profile. The creepy edits included here are only those that are of a minor, and some are even of his own sister. He also posts the callouts against him on his story, before signing it off with yet another jumbled wall of text. Among his other social media accounts are a few Tumblr pages, which also include the creepy edits and the disturbing inclusion of the word. He also shows his face in a few of the posts, which we can confirm is actually him through his YouTube videos. And on another older Tumblr account belonging to him, he again posts the image of him holding his sister's shoe, as well as being extremely obsessive over the touching of Lolita's shoes. Although on the surface this just seemed like a regular old creep, that couldn't be further from the truth. What we're seeing here is a disturbing example of a man preying on vulnerable minors, and believe it or not, it just gets worse. We can find an older Twitter account of his, and it shows that his online activity dates back as far as 2014. Considering how he already looks around the age of 20 in these images, it makes you wonder just how old he is now. We can't really get any more information out of his Twitter page because it's again just rambles. He tweets at random people saying random words. None of these tweets make any sense, and all that we can get out of it is something that we already know, that he has an obsession with feet. What we can get from one of his YouTube channels though is that it would appear the police actually paid him a visit. I think that's what I'm getting from the following, but again it's quite hard to understand, so take a look for yourself.
Hello, my name is Marco Diaz. And don't worry, I'm still I think it's still a new maybe leader of the Mushroom Kingdom, and he's still Mushroom Kingdom, and it's still something a problem I think of. I don't think it was the police officer. I think it's trouble. And it's Senate, whatever else. It's okay. He's still the Mushroom Kingdom, the leader for me. Marco Diaz is new leader. The Mushroom Kingdom is still leader of the Mushroom Kingdom. And Marco Diaz still the leader of the Mushroom Kingdom. It's still there. I'm promising. I love you, princess. I'm not feeling well. Babe.
From what I can gather, it seems that he thinks his Marco Diaz persona is the leader of the Mushroom Kingdom, and that he is fine despite speaking to a police officer. If I heard that wrong, then please do correct me in the comments, but I think I've got the gist of it. So, what's the story here? What's going on with Edgar Neri? Let's get the facts straight. He's a predator, he has a foot fetish, he loves characters from the Mario universe, and he gets some sort of joy from being called out for his actions. All of this is a very dangerous combination of traits, and I genuinely believe that he needs to be investigated by the authorities. Not only is he making numerous minors uncomfortable by stealing their pictures, but he is also showing concerning signs to children who are around him in real life, seemingly using them for his own disgusting purposes. Some people have theorized that there may be something mentally wrong with him, which could certainly be a possibility. With that being said though, that can't be used as an excuse to bail his creepy behaviour out, and it actually, in my opinion, gives more reason to shut him down quicker. Maybe he does live with people and they may not be aware of what he's doing online. That's similar to the Black-Pilled Joker, a disturbing TikTok incel that I spoke about on the channel. He lived with his parents, yet could air out his disturbing rants online by simply waiting until they were out of the house or filming outside. These people will always find a way to slip under the radar, as Edgar has for almost a decade. He is reaching out to minors in private and telling them to off themselves, all while simultaneously harassing them for his fetish. He clearly enjoys the attention, and I'm sure that video will be no different. But he seriously needs awareness to be raised about him in the general internet community, because this is becoming more and more of a problem every single day. An unconfirmed source from an internet forum also claimed to know the man in real life. They say that he witnessed Edgar touching the shoes of a younger relative who seemed to be very uncomfortable. She tried to move her feet away, but apparently he was relentless. We can actually see this in the videos because the person he's grabbing does seem to try to move away, all while he simply makes his grip stronger. In one more comment, the person says that they did tell this guy's parents about him, but they were defending him. Again, this is unconfirmed, but with everything taken into consideration, I'm inclined to believe the poster. Even more so that when he originally came to this forum, he didn't actually state the guy's name, but I'll let you decide what you want to believe. The rabbit hole goes so deep, with so many repeated posts, that I have no doubt that this man needs professional help, and quickly. If it's true that the people around him aren't preventing this behaviour, then an intervention seriously needs to be had by the authorities before this can get any more out of hand. And let's be honest, it's already way out of hand. We can only hope that he will stop harassing the fashion community, but sadly, I fear that that is nothing more than a dream. Over the years, we've seen many disturbing internet mysteries. Some were solved quickly, while others remain unsolved to this day. You never really know what you're getting yourself into when you start to investigate them, but one thing is always for sure, you're bound to fall down a deep rabbit hole. Tonight, I've compiled the best internet mysteries from the 2010s for your viewing pleasure. So sit back, relax, and let's step into the darkness. Before we get into the topics, I just wanted to thank you so much for clicking on the video. If you enjoy, a like and subscribe would mean the world, but without further ado, let's get into the video. 2010, Satoshi Nakamoto. The name Satoshi Nakamoto was probably one that you've heard before. It's the pseudonym used by the person who first introduced the concept of Bitcoin back in 2008. But the reason we're discussing him for 2010 is because he hasn't been heard from since that time. Satoshi started work on the first version of Bitcoin back in 2007, with all of the communication between him and his connections going through email. Because of this, no one really knew anything about him. But that wasn't really a concern for the people working closely with him. All they cared about was that he knew what he was doing, and it's safe to say that he did. In 2008, Satoshi introduced the concept of cryptocurrency to a wider audience through a paper that he published. He was the first person to create the blockchain system of verification to solve the problem of crypto duplication, and before long, the currency that he had helped to create quickly started to rise in popularity, being worth approximately $1.4 trillion in 2024. With the insane price of the currency, it's safe to say that he's loaded. It's estimated that his Bitcoin wallet today is worth about 70 billion, but we don't know who he is, and to this day, not a single bit of money has been removed from that wallet. No one has ever met Satoshi, and no photographs of the man exist. He could be one person, or it could be a small group of individuals. The last contact that anyone had with the man was in April of 2011. He had already fallen under the radar at this point, but Satoshi had come out to say that he had moved on to other things. He also wrote that he wished people would stop talking about him like a mysterious, shadowy figure, but it's safe to say the request wasn't granted because people still talk about him like that to this day. Although we still don't know who he is, there are some clues that could lead us to eventually crack the case. From timestamps on communications, it's assumed that Satoshi is either from the United Kingdom or the United States. Further analysis of his emails would discover that he often used the British spelling of words, which narrows down the search because that means he was either living in or was educated in the UK. But that's about it. We really don't know much, and maybe that's a good thing. Satoshi chose to be anonymous. The whole concept of Bitcoin is that it's decentralized and you don't have to put your trust in a singular owner. If Satoshi had identified himself when Bitcoin first launched, he could have been seen as this higher figure that held some sort of power over the entire currency. This could have put people off and could have even resulted in Bitcoin not reaching the heights that it has today. So although he was certainly a crucial player in the creation of Bitcoin, maybe it's time for us all to grant his wish and let him keep his anonymity. 2011, 8858. 8858 was a subreddit that caught the attention of Redditors in 2011. All of the posts were made by a user called A858DE45F56D9BC9, and he had been posting seemingly random codes to this subreddit for years until it was found. Some of the codes were encrypted so that it meant it was essentially impossible to solve them, but others seemed to be specifically designed so that internet sleuths could figure out the meaning behind the messages. The first thing people tried to figure out was if it was an actual person behind the account or if it was a bot. Redditors noticed that the codes were being posted at regular intervals, but that there was slight differences between each post, such as a few seconds of time difference between the posts or it being posted at certain hours throughout the day. The other thing pointing towards this being an actual person was that they would respond to some comments, but not everyone. It wasn't like a code that had been set up to respond to all comments, but rather it was like A858 was choosing a specific group of users who he wanted to interact with. Further adding to the theory that there was someone behind this was when the Solving A858 subreddit started to get attention, it seemed as though the user was aware of it. It was almost like he was watching the subreddit, and some people even began to theorize that he may be a member under everyone's noses. So while it couldn't be 100% confirmed that it wasn't a bot set up by someone, there was genuine evidence to believe that this was a real person. To this day, a few of A858's posts have been solved. The most popular one is a recreation of Stonehenge, which was hidden inside of a coded message. Some other posts include a birthday cake on the anniversary of his account, and also a reference to the 2015 April Fool's event Press a Button on Reddit. It was clear that whoever was behind A858 was very in touch with the Reddit community. They had a good idea of everything that was going on, and that further added to the theory that he was actually lurking in in the 8858 solving subreddit. But things would eventually reach their end when the subreddit would go private. This wasn't an uncommon occurrence, as when it started to get a lot of traffic, it would sometimes go private until the attention died down. But one day, that would change to a permanent shutdown. One of the most popular subreddits stated that 8858 has now concluded and urged people to unsubscribe. Of course, people didn't actually, because they held out hope that one day 8858 would return. But the day that he would return with codes never came, and he actually deleted both of his accounts. Only one of the subreddits is still available to view. The community has stayed strong up until now, hoping that eventually they can figure out if there was some sort of hidden purpose behind the codes. People refuse to believe that this was all for nothing, instead convincing themselves that there is a reason behind it all. Nowadays, there are many theories. Some people think it was a recruiting process, similar to what people think of Cicada, but others think it was a failed marketing campaign. Whether we'll ever know the true answer, we can't be sure. But 8858 remains as one of the most mysterious internet mysteries to ever hit the web. Okay, I'll be completely for real right now. I do not know how I missed this during my initial research, recording, and script writing, but there is actually an answer to 858. I'll show the post on screen right now. You can read it if you want. Basically, some company was paying the guy to post it, and eventually they wanted to stop funding the project. And that's the story of 850. I really don't know how I missed that, but still an interesting mystery nonetheless. 2012, Cicada 3301. As I just mentioned, people have compared 858 to another mystery from the 2010s, the mystery of Cicada 3301. On the 4th of January 2012, a post was made to 4chan. It was simply white text against a black background, and it read, "Hello, we are looking for highly intelligent individuals. To find them, we have devised a test. There is a message hidden in the image. Find it, and it will lead you on the road to finding us. We look forward to meeting the few that will make it all the way through. Good luck." And it was signed off with 3 numbers. 3301. This piqued the interest of a lot of users, but some fell at the first hurdle, unable to uncover the secret message that was allegedly hidden inside of the image. But that wasn't the case for one man, 34-year-old computer analyst Joel Eriksson from Sweden. Within minutes, he had found reference to a Caesar cipher, and he thought he had cracked the case. When he thought he had found a URL hidden in the code, he put it into his search bar. As the page loaded, he was greeted with a picture of a duck, accompanied by a message that said, "Whoops, just decoys this way. Looks like you can't guess how to get the message out." And with that, he was hooked. If it was just a simple Caesar cipher, Eriksson admitted that he may have lost interest. But with this new revelation, he was determined to go deeper into the rabbit hole. After more digging, he eventually reached a page that showed a cicada and a countdown timer. When the timer reached 0, it displayed 14 GPS coordinates from all around the world, in many different countries. People following the mysteries in different countries went to the places that they were being directed to, and they would find posters with a cicada logo and also a QR code. And for most participants, this is where the 2012 mystery would reach its end. The website shut down abruptly with a message saying that they wanted the best, not the followers. Whoever was behind the mystery did get in touch with some of the investigators, but Eriksson wasn't part of the lucky few, despite coming painfully close. The only missing piece of his puzzle was that he had failed to register his email address with a Tor service in time, and he genuinely believes to this day that if he had done that, he could have been one of the chosen ones. A few weeks after this, Cicada returned to make one more post. They said that their search had reached their end and that they had found the individuals that they were looking for. They signed off by saying that their journey has ended. For now. And right enough, they returned in 2013, and then in 2014, and then again in 2016. It's a very interesting rabbit hole, and to this day, the third puzzle remains unsolved. There is clearly a group of talented individuals behind this, and we still don't know who. The assumption that many people came to was that this was a hacking group. They were accused of illegal activity by a number of authorities in different countries, and they even came out to say that they had no involvement in illegal activity. The most likely theory is that this was some sort of government organization or similar entity society behind it all. They clearly have a lot of people in different countries, and the people who solved the puzzle remain secretive and unheard of. I'm not saying there is a secret society ruling over us all, but it's not uncommon for places like the CIA or MI6 to use recruitment methods just like this. They use ciphers and other tactics to make sure that they only recruit the best of the best. And to be honest, I don't think we'll ever know the truth, especially if this is recruitment for some sort of military organization. There have been no attempts to monetize the game by the group themselves, so I don't think this is some sort of ARG. I'm convinced this is real, and it remains one of the most compelling mysteries that I've ever looked into. We haven't had a new verified message from Cicada since April of 2017, but who knows? Maybe one day, the mysterious group will return with a new puzzle. 2013, Alex from Tennessee. The story of Alex of Tennessee originated from 4chan in 2013, but started to attract the attention of the wider web in 2014. It certainly freaked people out at the time, and once you read it for yourself, you'll understand why. An anonymous user said that he was going to post coordinates that would lead those willing to participate to a prize. What the prize was, people didn't know, but they were certainly eager to find out. The coordinates were posted shortly after, and the user said, "Buy this rubble, your prize awaits. Park nearby and walk to this point for the secret. It's under plastic at this point. Good luck." With the description of it being under plastic, some people were completely out because they genuinely thought that the coordinates could lead to human remains. But while some people weren't willing to make the trip, one person was. A user called Alex from Tennessee. It was figured out that the location given led to a secluded area in the city of Elizabethton, and as time ticked on, comments made by the anonymous OP started to get creepier. He would reply to people doubting his so-called prize, saying things like, "It is warm and there are no cops here," and they just kept getting more disturbing. After 5 brutal days, users would finally have an answer though, as Alex from Tennessee would make a follow-up thread. He claimed that he had gone to the location that the creepy OP had given. He attached photos of what he described as a dirt basement, which contained empty jars, broken wires, pill bottles, and a plastic bag that had previously been posted by the OP. When questioned about what was in the bag, Alex said that he had taken a look, and that it contained what seemed to be a mummified pelvis and a folded paper plate. Disturbingly, when the paper plate was unfolded, it read, "Plate's a date, a very important date. You shouldn't have come. I lied." One thing to note here is that this was being posted live as it happened. Many users were following these discoveries live, eager to find out what was going on. But after the paper plate discovery, people were starting to get worried for Alex, and his next post certainly didn't help to calm their concerns. Alex posted saying that he heard someone outside, and that they were driving really slow over the gravel. This is where the story ends, leaving some people to wonder what happened to Alex on that fateful day. So what are the theories? The first theory is that Alex did go to the location and was met by some sort of foul play. The person who initially posted the coordinates may have been planning to carry out a disturbing act on whoever was dumb enough to go. But with no evidence to back this up apart from Alex's claims that he heard someone outside, this is nothing more than speculation. The more likely theory is that Alex and OP are one and the same, and that this was simply an attempt at pranking the internet. If this is true, then it certainly works because this mystery is still spoken about to this day. Backing up this theory is that there are no missing person or homicide cases in the area that feature someone called Alex. If he had truly gone missing that day, then you think that his disappearance would have been reported to the authorities. We likely would have heard about it, but alas, that wasn't the case. There is a chance that Alex wasn't his real name since that was just a screen name, but again, we have nothing to back this up. Some people have also debunked the thread by saying that it's extremely unrealistic that he would be posting live updates in such an intense situation. There was about a minute and a half between each post, and if you take into consideration the time it would have taken him to capture the image, navigate to 4chan, type it all out and then post it, it seems highly unlikely that this would have been done while he was on the go. This has led people to believe that when he was originally at the location 5 days prior, he had taken those pictures and was posting them from the comfort of his own home on the alleged day of his disappearance. The final piece of evidence that leads people to believe this second theory is a comment that he made on the final post. He signed off with a smug comment that simply said, "I think it's time for my date." If he were truly in a situation where he feels like his life was being threatened, I'm sure that humour and smugness would be the last thing on his mind. I highly doubt he would be even taking the time to post to 4chan. That's just discussion though, and we still don't know the truth about the mystery. But let me know in the comments if you think this really was someone live posting their disappearance, or if it was a hoax all along. 2014, WebDriver Torso. In 2014, a mysterious YouTube channel by the name of WebDriver Torso started to pick up traction. Despite being created in 2013, it managed to stay under the radar until people began to take notice. This channel was uploading mostly 10-second videos at random intervals, so it had many chances to hit the recommended page. And that it did, as the 80,000 videos that had been uploaded at the time started to amass views. The first thing people would notice was the strange visuals. Random patterns of red and blue shapes would move across a white background, all while high-pitched sounds played in the background. There was really nothing to take from these videos, and although it certainly seemed random, people wanted to know who was behind the videos. For months, no one had taken credit for any of the videos, which seemed weird considering how popular they were becoming. This was a perfect chance for someone to make a spin-off career for themselves or to even monetize these videos, which led people to believe that instead of a singular person creating these, it was an organisation. The Guardian tried to explain it away by saying that it was a series of test patterns, used by a European telecom company. Others thought this may be scientists trying to communicate with extraterrestrial life, but the answer was much simpler. When the source of the channel was traced by people who were trying to discover who the owner was, it was found that it was being run out of a Google office in Switzerland. This led people to believe that it may have been run by Google all along. And further evidence adding to this was that the only comment that the channel had ever left made reference to a man named Matti. The Google senior research scientist at the time was Matti Kucheria. I really hope I'm pronouncing that guy's name right. And sure enough, Google soon released an official statement, admitting that they were behind the channel, all while quoting Rick Astley. The company said, "We're never gonna give you uploading that's slow or loses video quality, and we're never gonna let you down by playing YouTube in poor video quality. That's why we're always running tests like WebDriver Torso." All along, it was used to post videos to YouTube to test upload speeds by the company themselves. So rather than sinister spies, it turned out to be nothing more than a simple test. 2015, Plague Doctor. In 2015, a strange video would go viral after being publicised by a Swedish tech blog. The editor had received it in the mail. It was sent with no return address, and the package was simply a DVD. On the package, there was a long string of numbers that was first assumed by the editor to be some sort of product key. He thought this whole thing might be software that someone wanted him to test, because that wasn't out of the norm. But he was in for a disturbing surprise. When he put the disc into a spare laptop, he was greeted with this. He assumed that this was something that was meant to be decoded, and when he failed, he put it out there for the public to see. The publication ran the story, and people immediately began to search for clues. People found out that although the editor was the first to make the video mainstream, he wasn't the first to publish it. In May of that year, a user called AETBX had published it to YouTube, and it was the only video on his channel. Very suspicious. Of course, the video started to garner a good amount of views thanks to the renewed interest, and AETVX actually responded to the increase in traction, asking why there was so much interest in the video which had laid dormant on the site for months. Commenters made him aware of the article and asked if he had been the one to create the video, and although some people were certain that he had, considering this was at the time the earliest instance of the video on the internet, he denied it completely. The Washington Post picked up on the new development on the story and actually reached out to the account for comment. He refused to to state his full name, only saying that he was Daniel from Spain, and claimed that he had also received the video in the mail. He said that his version had been given to him by a girl who he didn't know via email. She alleged that she had found it on a random park bench. He even hit out at the original editor, saying that anyone can fake a DVD, casting doubt on his whole account. And more weight was added to the theory that the editor may have actually faked this entire thing, when another earlier instance of the video was found on 4chan. It was found on the paranormal board, and it was the exact same video. On another corner of the internet, a blog run by film students, there was a screenshot of the same video. They claimed their website had actually been hacked weeks prior to the discovery though, and more posts of the video were found. It seemed to be posted by hackers, but again, that was nothing more than a theory, and no one knew for sure. But the location of the video was eventually found. The former Zawówka Sanatorium near Warsaw was found to have the exact same graffiti and structure that could be seen in the video. Using old photos of the building, it was found that even though it had been abandoned for some time, that it lacked any graffiti prior to 2014, meaning that the video couldn't have been recorded earlier than that. But just when everyone thought the mystery would never be solved, we found out the truth. A man named Parker Warner Wright came forward to claim credit for the video, and although he wasn't the only person who had said that they had made the video, he actually had proof to back it up. On social media, he said that a new video would be released on the account at a certain time. At the exact time stated, a new video was published. The figure in the Plague Doctor costume from the first video returned, shown in the same building, seemingly proving that he was the person behind this. He was interviewed by the media and told reporters that he was a US citizen living in Poland. The videos were meant as an art project, and after finishing one video in May 2015, he left 3 physical copies, 2 discs on the subway and 1 in a park. He also left 1 digital copy, which was the one posted to 4chan. People were still skeptical, but with everything taken into account, he doesn't seem to be lying. But do you believe that Wright was really the man behind the mystery? Or do you think that somewhere out there, the true creator is still hiding their secret? 2016, Dracula 1920. Dracula 1920 is an obscure piece of lost media whose entire existence is debated. It's an alleged Russian film adaptation of the popular film Dracula, and if it did truly exist, then it would be the first film to actually adapt the story of the 1897 novel. Although some people are determined that this is real, others aren't so sure. No production stills, footage of any kind, or just general information is available on the film. Some sources have stated that they know the name of the director, but searches of his filmography proved that the film wasn't within it. But just because there's no information to back it up doesn't mean that it didn't exist. There are theories that it may have been destroyed in the Russian Civil War in 1920, but again, there is no substantial evidence to back this up. And it seems like false leads are everywhere with this piece of media. For example, a Russian news website claimed that the movie had been found in Serbia, but this was proven to be nothing other than a hoax. People did believe it at first though, because there was actual video to back it up. But it was quickly discovered that it was actually a film made at the time, which had been made to look old through editing techniques and other stuff like that. They even made a poster to go alongside the fake film trying to convince people, but alas, the truth came out. The other significant reference to the film is in the Vampire Book, an encyclopedia that lists all of the main vampire films throughout history. It lists the Dracula film in 1920, saying that no copy is known to have survived. Apparently, the film is also listed in the Russian State Film Fund, and they claim that it contains Ukrainian actors, but again, this is just a reference and no footage has ever been found. Others think that Dracula 1920 may have been confused with another film, a lost Hungarian Dracula film released in 1923, but so many people remain genuinely unsure about what the actual truth is. And I guess at this point, we'll never know. The likelihood of finding an obscure piece of media from the 1920s, especially when it wasn't even made in the US or the UK, it's very hard, and the likelihood is much lower than modern pieces of media. But still, this is an internet mystery widely discussed all over the web. To be honest, I'm not confident that we'll ever find it, but I remain hopeful that one day I can be proven wrong. It would be great to put this all to bed, so fingers crossed that one day the truth will come out. 2017, Google Maps body. This could bring back some memories for some of you, but remember on the early days of YouTube, you'd see those compilations of disturbing finds on Google Maps? Well, this is one of the most popular and certainly defined the 2010s in terms of internet mysteries. When people were searching the world on maps, they spotted something strange in the Dutch city of Almere. It looked normal on the surface, a long pier with an octagonal base in the middle of the water, but when zoomed in, it showed a disturbing scene. There was an object on the pier, surrounded by what appeared to be blood. It immediately went viral as people thought that they may have just uncovered an actual murder scene so blatantly on Google Maps. But as the theory shot in popularity, the person who was actually pictured in that image came out to uncover the truth. And to shut down any accusations of wrongdoing, of course. It turned out that this was actually a dog owner and his pet. The dog was wet and had walked along the pier, trailing water behind him, which, when it hit the surface that the pier was made out of, it looked a bit like blood from a bird's eye view. The owner said, "When I saw the picture, I realised it was my dog. He loves the water. He jumps off the end of the jetty, swims around to the bridge, and runs down to the edge again. It's hilarious that everyone thought it was a murder, but it's great that he's now world famous." So while this may not have been an actual murder scene, some people may still not know the truth. I remember that I had seen the image back in the day, but I didn't actually know that it had an update. So I was still out here thinking that the truth behind it was unsolved. Let me know in the comments if you saw this back in the day and what you think of the fact that it was simply a dog. 2018, paper binds. If you've been around for a while, and I'm talking a while, Papergate was the third ever video I uploaded to YouTube, all the way back in 2021. I remember I had been monitoring the situation for a while, but I didn't really know the niche. But I eventually reached out to the internet investigator and we started to work on it together. But apart from the little Jessica lore dump, let's get into it. In early 2021, I came across the Piper Binds YouTube channel. The channel description claimed that the person behind it, apparently a girl called Piper, was the cousin of Amanda Bynes and that they looked alike. Piper claimed that Amanda had given her props and clothes from her show, and that she was now using them to make a web series which she called The Piper Show. On the surface, this seemed innocent, but as you started to explore, it would get more disturbing. It's not uncommon for kids to have YouTube channels, especially in the 2020s, but something about this seemed off. It didn't take long to find a Twitter account that had been linked to the channel. It contained tweet after tweet of Piper randomly tweeting at her followers, thanking them for nothing. And this wasn't new either, because by this point, it had been going on for months. There was no context anywhere to be found in relation to this, but if you looked at the likes on the tweet, which were public at the time, you could find that people interacting with the alleged minor were all adults, and their accounts consisted of mainly NSFW content. And they weren't trying to hide the fact that they were being creepy towards Piper either. In the replies, they would call her cute, saying that she lost her underwear and that the adult had found it under his bed. And by far, this person was one of the two worst offenders. Meet Jacob, the man who made that tweet and one of Piper's most active followers. During the time that he was active on the platform, he would constantly be in the replies to Piper. In some disturbing instances, he even implied that he wanted to see her without clothes on. The other most active follower of Piper was a woman called Sky. She would say things to Piper, indicating that if she went up and down on a whale, then it would love her. And if you're putting the pieces together like we did back then, you can probably guess what she meant. And Piper was just feeding into it. I can't show the tweets because they show 3D images that are definitely suggestive, but she would post a 3D animated model of herself in situations with zombies. With the situation that these zombies were in and how she used the term, it didn't take long to figure out that that was code for predators. One of the most disturbing realizations of this entire rabbit hole. Another unsettling aspect is a realization that the tweets thanking her followers are likely her thanking the buyers. People who had bought illegal content from whoever was behind the Piper account. She was just leaving a trail of breadcrumbs to follow and to show appreciation to her biggest fans. This code of sorts would continue to be plausible as people began to realize how often she was speaking with her followers about a park, in some instances calling it Central Park. And if you take the initials of that, well, I'm sure you can figure it out. But you're probably thinking, a child couldn't have plotted all of this. It simply has to be a coincidence. Well, no, because the person behind the Piper account wasn't a teenage girl at all. By reverse searching the email addresses that were linked to the Piper accounts, it was discovered that they actually belonged to a man called William Glenn Whitaker, and it got darker when his history of abuse came up, as it was quickly found out that he had actually been convicted before for having illegal images in his possession. At the time he was running these accounts, he was also running a modelling agency targeted at kids, and it's terrifying to imagine what could have gone on behind closed doors. Also, who gave a man like this, with a prior conviction related to kids, permission to start an agency where he's surrounded by them? That seems so stupid. Whoever gave him permission needs a sack. To put the final nail in the coffin that Whitaker was the one behind this, the time when he passed away and the time when Piper stopped posting seem to match up perfectly. His motives to this day have never been confirmed and technically remain unknown. We can take a guess, but we'll never really know what his true intentions were. Nowadays, there's not much more to this mystery because Whitaker is dead. Of course, some other accounts have popped up here and there, but they all seem to just be attempts at getting attention. Also, I don't know who thinks of making these accounts, because how weird do you have to be to try and leech off the clout of a literal sexual predator? Pipergate became a huge topic of discussion when Nick Crowley made a video on it, so it's not really a surprise that people have tried to leech off the fame, as disturbing as it is. Everyone originally associated with Whitaker though has either been suspended from the platform or had their accounts deactivated. And yes, I have checked every single one of them because I have an evidence server from back then with links to all the accounts, and I have went through every single one of them to check. But this is a mystery that will never be forgotten. We can just hope that Whitaker didn't actually distribute any illegal material using the Piper accounts, but with all the evidence taken into consideration, that seems to be unlikely. 2019, Ruth Price. If you're an avid internet user, you've probably come across the Ruth Price 911 call, one of the most disturbing audios to be available to the public. The call was placed by an elderly woman who told the operator that her name was Ruth Price. She explains that the reason she is calling is because she saw a man lurking around her property. But before any more information is able to be extracted from Ruth, her calm yet concerned tone is replaced by horrific screams. The line goes dead shortly after, with the operator having to listen to the event unfold while they sat there completely powerless. There was a lot of debate over whether this call was actually real. Some people thought that it may have been a scripted call to train 911 operators, due to how, quite frankly, bad the operator was on this call in particular. She doesn't let Ruth finish giving her address, which is, the most common thing for operators to get. All we know is that she lives somewhere starting with 3877, and that's all due to the operator being completely unprofessional in extracting the right information. But there was also the argument that this was real. The terror in the screams of Ruth seemed to be too realistic for someone to have faked. The only thing not really backing this up is that around the time the call was placed, in the 80s or 90s give or take, there are no records of any Ruth being killed or kidnapped. Some people with the same name have been tracked down, but they never proved to be the one from the call. That was until 2022, when a Redditor would find a crucial piece of information that would solve this case for good. Reddit user Far Valuable found an obituary for Ruth M. Price, who died in 1994. Further research into the specific Ruth would uncover a newspaper clipping. It was from 1980 and it featured her story. It said that Ruth M. Price of the 3800 block was calling the police to advise them of a prowler in the area when she was grabbed from behind and choked. She was able to break the attacker's grip after dropping the phone and screaming, and after she pulled at their hands, the attacker fled. Ruth said that she had never seen the person before and didn't know why she was a target. With everything taken into account, especially the fact that this specific Ruth Price was from the 3800 block, it would seem that this is what happened. The truth has finally been revealed, and not only did Ruth manage to fight off her attacker despite being older, she managed to live for another 14 years. An absolutely amazing woman, if I do say so myself. And this remains as one of the greatest internet mysteries just because of how disturbing the audio is and how fantastic it is that it was finally solved. Thank you very much for making it to the end of that video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hype the video, do all of that good stuff if you did enjoy. Currently not got my setup, so that's why it's a compilation video. If you watched last week's, you'll know that I'm moving flat right now. Going well, but not there just yet. So I hope you enjoyed this compilation. Reminder of some of the best internet mysteries that I've covered this year. And don't forget, guys, let me know in the comments section what you want to see when I return. Don't forget to check me out on social media. I have Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter. Join my Discord server to get involved with the community. Thank you very much to my Patreon supporters and YouTube members: Maury Gann, Alex Rod, K4 Silver, Entrepreneur, Collecti Key, Brooke, Carmilla, Based Finger, Midnight Kitty, Willow, Briar, X Fizzy, Shoshka, and Frozen Roses. Thank you very much for your support, guys. If you want to support me on Patreon, you can do so for as little as £5 a month. It really helps the channel, but of course that's not necessary, and just you watching these videos are enough. But thank you very much. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll be back very soon with another video. But if you want another right now, then YouTube thinks that you like the video that's on your screen.